Swim Chats, a podcast about swimming. I'm Shona Riddell, a writer, former journalist and ocean swimmer from Wellington, Aotearoa, New Zealand. For each episode, I talk to a different guest from our swim community. They're dippers, adventure swimmers, coaches and conservationists with one thing in common. They all love being in the sea. Thanks to everyone who's been listening along so far and sharing the podcast. And if you know people who you think would enjoy it, please let them know. I started Swim Chats a few months ago and it's definitely growing as people continue to discover it and share it, so thank you. It's fun to make and I'm enjoying talking to new people and hearing their ocean stories. Remember, if you have any questions, thoughts or suggestions, you can email me at swimchatswithshona@gmail.com or follow me on Instagram at swimchats. Please hit the follow or subscribe link wherever you're listening so you don't miss an episode. You can also leave a rating to help others find the podcast. So thanks for listening, enjoy the water, and here's today's episode with James Groombridge, the Wellington President of Coastguard New Zealand, where we talk about the big swim. So hi James, today we have James Groombridge, the Wellington President of Coastguard New Zealand. Tau tiaki moana. James, welcome to Swim Chats. Thanks for being here today.
It's an absolute pleasure.
So we're recording this at the beginning of June, which means the big swim has just kicked off. For those listening who don't know what the big swim is, do you want to describe it?
Okay, yeah, so the big swim, it's a great fundraising exercise for Coastguard NZ, which will ultimately help us save more lives at sea and assist more boaties in distress. So it's all about having people out there who love swimming, and making money out of the fundraising by doing their favourite activity, swimming.
That's right, and people can sign up, either do it by themselves or they can join a team, like make a team of people and do it as a kind of group fundraiser. So I'll just put in a little plug for my own team here. We're the Tridents. We've signed up, so altogether we're doing 100 kilometres over the month and raising money. And so we've all got our swim caps. Mine arrived in the post.
Yeah, I've seen a few swim beanies around as well.
Yeah, that's right. So I think the idea is the more kilometres you do, or the more sponsorship you get, reaching certain targets, and then you get a few extra freebies or rewards along the way. So I'm definitely looking forward to my beanie.
No, it's all good, isn't it? It's great. I think it's a great thing because, having people out there in the water and where we play in the water all the time, it's a great fundraising exercise.
That's right, and it's a great for those of us who like to swim year round in the pool and or the sea. My team likes both. It's a good way to kind of keep us on track over the winter. So instead of just hibernating, we have our targets to meet, and it motivates us to keep going, which is good for us as well as a good fundraiser.
See, I don't believe you. I reckon you swimmers in the sea, you swim all year round and you're nutters, so you love it. You don't need any more motivation.
Oh yeah, that's true. We do love it. There's something that's very addictive about getting in cold water. I know a lot of people swimming, listening to this, who are swimmers will relate. And I like how the big swim is for all swim abilities as well. So, you can pick your distance. You don't have to be a marathon swimmer to participate, which is nice. And so, yeah, is the big swim, this is the second year for it, is that right?
That's how I understand it. Yep, I haven't been playing at the president level for very long, so I'm quite new to the role and been exposed to a whole lot of stuff. But this is, as I understand, the second year, and it was a great result from last year, and looking forward to it this year.
Do you know how many have signed up so far this year, or is that? No, that's all right.
To dig into the details of overall New Zealand.
I bet it's more than last year, though. I just get that feeling as more people are aware of it. Yeah.
You can see it, just as I say, I've been noticing more beanies around with the big swim on them and stuff, and like it's been cool. A guy came up to me in the pool. I'm not a distance swimmer, but I'm a sprint swimmer. So I was just at the rack the other day, and the guy came up and said, "Look at my hat, look at my hat," and I was going, "Yeah, good on you, mate."
People love their merch, don't they? It's all
Yeah, mate.
part of being in the
It is.
community. Yeah.
Life's about give and take, right? So if you're going to get a little bit of fundraising, it's great to be able to give something back, not only in what we do on the water, but as a little, hey, here's something to show that we appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, that's right. And I dug out some stats from last year from an article I read. So last year was the first year of the big swim, and about 1,200 people logged more than 8,000 swims. So that was the equivalent of 14,000 kilometers, and they raised $350,000 for Coastguard. So that was last year.
It's amazing because
Yeah.
we're a complete volunteer organisation. And like we've got 61, I think this might be a few more, one more coming on board, but we've got units across all of New Zealand. And so any money to help us is fantastic. We in Wellington have 71 members who are there providing 24/7 coverage of Wellington Harbour and the Cook Strait. So any money that we can get to pay for a little bit of gas, pay for that next maintenance bill we get, it's all very, very appreciated.
Cool. And do you know how many volunteers you have in Wellington or nationwide?
71 in Wellington. It varies quite, volunteer organisations, it's hard to ever put an exact number on it across New Zealand, but I know for us, we're always around 70. And as I say, we're one of 60 odd units. And so, yeah, it's a big organisation. And Volunteering New Zealand, there's this great website, Volunteering NZ, and it actually gives you a whole lot of stats about not Coast Guard specific, but volunteering in New Zealand. And within that, we contribute, I think it was like $3 to $6 billion a year in volunteer hours that goes into the economy. That's how much Kiwis volunteer. It's just mind-boggling.
That's really positive to hear as well, isn't it? That so many people are willing to give their time.
And it's like, go to the site, volunteeringnz.org.nz. It's just got an amazing amount of data on who volunteers and how many hours they overall we put in each year and so forth. Hey, but I just did think of one other thing.
Yeah.
Wellington Council, through their pool system there a couple of years ago, did something similar to the Big Swim. It wasn't for fundraising specific, but I was wondering if you guys were involved, where you swam the length of New Zealand.
Yes, that sort of indirectly, we didn't have sponsors for that so much. It was more just like when you went to the pool, they would ask how many kilometers you'd swum and add it to their total. And I think it was more of a competition between the pools. Is that right?
Yeah. I thought that was quite cool as well, because as you said earlier, anything to get a little bit of motivation, especially for us lower end beginner swimmers, is really positive.
It's pretty incredible when you add up everyone's distance, just how far everyone's going indoors, just swimming their laps at the pool, and then you feel like part of a bigger picture as well, which is it's always nice. So Coast Guard New Zealand. How old is it as an organisation? Do you know? Like, how long is it?
Again, I don't know for every unit. Our unit was formed as the direct result of the Wahine disaster.
Oh, okay.
So we've been around 50 odd years, and our first boat was bought about a year after. It took a major event and quite a significant loss in life for us to actually build that service into Wellington. So we've been actively participating in rescues and boater assistance since the early, I think it's late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, we've just had a member who was almost one of the originals. He retired from Coast Guard after about 50 years. So it was insane. He was a lovely old fella.
Oh, that's a great story.
Yeah,
Wow.
so yeah, but that would probably be the last of the long time.
He definitely earned a beanie.
I think he had every piece of Coast Guard merch you could think of, one way or the other, and some old radars off some old boats and everything. So.
Oh yeah, there'd be some good old technology collected, I'll bet.
He's quite a character, and what I've come to appreciate is everybody who volunteers, no matter what organisation, they need to be supported and recognised in one way or the other. Some don't want to be recognised, but in actual fact, as a nation of now what I understand of volunteers, it's fantastic. And having people like you, by doing something like this, is just another way of recognising our contributions. So it's just fantastic.
It's an important cause, isn't it? I mean, we're surrounded by the water, which is great in terms of recreational opportunities, but it can also be pretty dangerous.
Yeah, it sure can be. We had to do a rescue off 8 miles east of Palliser a couple of nights ago, and we're out on the water for, I think it was 10 hours all up.
Wow.
So these things are happening. And also, I've been part of Wellington Coastguard for 5 years, and a lot of stuff goes on this harbour that nobody even knows about.
Yeah, such as?
A lot. Well, in the weekend, we responded to a boat in distress, and we got it back to Seaview safely. Straight afterwards, they came across a massive log in the harbour and dragged that off to Lowry Bay to put it on the shore at the request of the harbour master. Why that was happening, police contacted Coastguard Wellington and asked them to respond to an event. But by the time they got there, the event had resolved itself. But that was all within 3 hours on a Monday afternoon.
I guess you never know what the weather's or the ocean is going to bring.
Oh, you never do, and it relies on everybody being sensible, and applying good practice to their boating activities, and that's not always the case.
And how many lives per year do you save? Do you know?
I'll come back to that question. I'll just bring up some stats, which I do have from a Coastguard New Zealand level, but it will just take me a few minutes just to dive into that. So ask another question.
Yeah, sure. That's all right. We can come back to that. So when did you become the president of the Wellington branch?
Last year.
And did you have a long involvement with Coastguard before that, or was that your introduction?
No, I've been a member for 5 years. So you start off on a very gradual process over time. You start as a deckhand, then you become qualified, then you move up to senior, and over time you might become an ISC, which is a master of a vessel. And people come in from different backgrounds. So I've always been on small boats. There's people come from a commercial background, and there's people who join us with no boating experience. So it depends on their experience and their skill levels and their capability to learn. Going through that process is very dependent on on your skill, your time, and so forth. You can't say that, this all finishes after 5 years, you are this. It might take quite a while to actually learn how to helm a boat correctly.
Right. And were you a boatie before you joined?
Sort of. My old man's always had a boat. But one thing I've realised now, after being in Coastguard, is there's good ways of doing things, and then there's the right way of doing things.
Right.
And so, I've learned a hell of a lot.
A lot more about health and safety and.
Just how to do things properly in the easy way. I mean, just how to use a spring line correctly to come into a berth. It makes common sense once you know it, but to learn it, you have to be in that boaty world, right? So, yeah, it's really interesting. It's really.
And you mentioned that you're a swimmer yourself.
Yeah. I do a bit of swimming. I don't think anything to your level, but I'm also part of Surf NZ. So as part of our ongoing thing, we have to make sure we maintain our swim times. So we're talking about 400-meter swims. And every now and again I'll push it out to a K, but it's nothing like you guys do.
Is that in the pool?
So I do a lot of my training in the pool.
Yeah.
But when it comes to actually doing our refreshers every year, it is all about swimming in the sea and being able to perform a rescue as required.
Oh, that's awesome. So you're a volunteer for surf lifesaving as well?
Yeah. It's that was more because of my children got into it when they were young, and I just have carried that on, and I'm now do some instructing for Coastguard, for surf and patrol at our local beach, which is lots of fun as well.
Is that along the south coast?
We're at Werther Bay, so
Oh,
we're in a
where's the bay?
harbour.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
very close to me.
Yeah, so we're in a harbour, but we generally patrol at Scorching Bay. Werther Bay is our club. Yeah, so that's it. Anyway, I've got some stats for you.
Excellent.
63 Coastguard units, 59 units crewing 100 rescue vessels and rescue craft, 2 air patrol units based in Auckland and Northland. We've got a dedicated operations centre in Auckland, which is fantastic, actually. It's amazing. The difference we've made in the last year, we have responded to 2,867 total incidents. We've brought 7,196 people home safely. Directly in the last year, people who are alive because Coastguard was there was 48. Our total volunteer hours was 303,048. And we took and looked after 218,000 radio calls, resulting in 56,000 trip reports.
Wow, that's incredible. Big numbers. And so apart from the big swim, where does your funding come from?
Basically me going around with my cap out. We get some central. The Coastguard NZ itself gets a little bit of central funding. The government over the last few years has been increasing that, which is fantastic because for both surf and for Coastguard, the increase in work that we are doing is always on the increase. And with some big events like Gabriel, where Coastguard and surf are all playing their part, they have identified that, hey, these guys play an important role in significant events and the areas that they patrol in. So we get some of that back. CNZ get that, and they can allocate that out. So the CNZ is going to be allocating some funding to us because we need a new boat.
Right.
And I'll talk about that in a little bit if that's okay.
Go for it.
But the other funding comes from our annual lottery, so we do a big annual lottery where we sell tickets to the public with prizes of boats and holidays and so forth. That contributes a bit. We do quite a lot of internal fundraising through sponsorship directly with one of our main sponsors is Straight Shipping. They're a fantastic organisation, really cool to work with, and I love being on their boats. The Connemara is awesome. Whenever I go across the Cook Strait, definitely always use Straight Shipping. They're the best. That's their plug.
Oh, yeah.
So we get it. So we have to just pull it from every source we can. And when we're talking about the new vessel that we require, our current vessels, well, we've got 2 vessels. Spirit of Wellington is 29 years old, I believe. It's close to 29, maybe. But anyway, it's around 30 years old. Beautiful vessel, but after 30 years, there's better technology and better vessels out there for us to achieve our jobs, to keep our crew safe. And then if we can keep ourselves safer and in bigger conditions, we can then effect better rescues for the public. So we're looking for about $2 million across the Wellington overall community. So it's any piece of funding to get to that type of figure is absolutely appreciated.
So some of the money from the big swim will go towards the new boat?
I imagine what will happen is I think that all goes into the central bucket. And then because it is a CNZ run the big swim, and then they allocate that out to different units in need. And so and that central funding from the government also plays a part in that. And so they'll be contributing quite a chunk to our requirements, but that doesn't that's on top of the 2 million we're after. So we're talking quite a lot of money to get a vessel to the quality and the standard that we require to keep our crew safe, and then to effect great rescues.
Oh, well, I'll put lots of links in the show notes, and then hopefully people will click on them, and especially for the big swim, because that's going for the rest of the month.
Yeah,
Um,
that is
yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. So of the people you're rescuing, I imagine most of them are boaties in distress. Are you rescuing swimmers as well, or is that more surf lifesaving?
Um, Quite often our we generally are boat related, right? We search for swimmers if we're needed. We're a little bit unique. There's only two harbours that actually have a Wellington police, sorry, a police maritime unit, and we have one of those. And Auckland is another one. So they are quite often out there responding as well as us. So if you were swimming in, like you are off Freiburg Beach or wherever, the police will get to you faster. So we will always respond to any event. I have not personally attended to a swimmer in distress. We do practice picking up people out of the water all the time.
Mhm.
But you guys keep yourselves pretty safe. I haven't heard of an incident where you guys haven't got somebody to shore before we could become effective. And the use of the buoys and so forth that you do now is great. You know, we can see where you are. Um, Whereas in other places where it's a little bit more chaotic, like Taupo, where people get hit by jet skis and that, with people who aren't to your guys' level, who aren't wearing the safety equipment, it's it's a
Yeah,
big
we
thumb.
really yeah, we enjoy we all try and look out for each other for sure, and we get really good advice from our coaches and from Grant, the harbour master,
Mm.
who's really good at staying in touch with everyone and getting feedback on what's working.
Grant's awesome.
Yeah.
Grant is really brilliant guy, and yeah, we like to think we work closely with the harbour master. We do respond to what we've noticed over the past few years is the water uses have changed. There's a lot more swimmers, but as
Right.
I say, I think you guys are very self-responsible, so which is great. But the diversity of watercraft is really ramping up with all the you've got kite surfers, you've got foilers, you have the SUPs out there. You know, you've got a variety, and then you've got the foiling SUPs, and the variety of all the vessels that we now actually will be attending to is greatly increasing. One of the other stats, I haven't had this fact check, but the other day I did look, I got it through a search engine, was that New Zealand added 44,000 vessels to its recreational boating fleet over the last year.
That's incredible.
I know. And if that's the case, but you can see it because, like, if you look at what's happening down in Picton, how the size of their marina has doubled over the last, they've finished their big project now and almost doubled the size of the marina. And if you go to Auckland ever, there's just boats everywhere, and it's not so noticeable in Wellington because we're a bit more hard. I have to be a bit more hardy to be in the recreational boating scene. But the increase in recreational boating is just it's happening.
I guess that puts a bit more pressure on you guys, and that you probably need to recruit more volunteers to keep up with the number of new vessels.
Yeah, well, we're actually going to. We've got two vessels at the moment. We'll probably, I can't really say, but I imagine we'll go down to one when we get the new vessel, because we're also trying to be sustainable too. We really don't want to be out there absolutely thumping around petrol engines. So we're going to move to hopefully what we consider as a more sustainable vessel and a sustainable approach, because our waterways and so forth really need to be looked after. So yeah, I think we'll end up. This is not. I can't say we're definitely going to do this, but I'd say in the next 3 years, once we get this new vessel, we'll end up down to a single vessel. And so also, Coastguard's been putting a lot of effort into prevention as opposed to us as the ambulance, and they're seeing the results of that. We still have an increase in incidents that we're reporting to every year. Not a great one, so we're going up in like twos or threes, so like from 35 5 years ago to 49 now. So it's not a massive increase, but it's I think it's that diversity which is the one of more of the interesting things rather than the increase, because we've just got to be way more careful when we're approaching somebody who's actually in the water as opposed to approaching a vessel,
Right.
and those sort of things. And if we're coming up next to a swimmer, we practice all the time how we do that to make sure the swimmer feels safe communicating with them, making sure we don't come flying up to you, that we actually do it very slow and progressively, and that we're actually able to safely pull a swimmer out without them. And there's a little saying that there's a few rules that we follow, is don't point the boat at the person.
Yeah,
don't hit the
good idea. Yeah, don't hit the person with advice.
and be stopped when we pick you up. Right. So, we put that into practice. We won't come close within 100 meters of you.
Right.
Until we're confident that that we're here and that you are safe. Now, obviously, if you're head down and unconscious, that's all changes. But we really are trying to really think about the person in the water as their experience. The last thing we want them to do is freak out and swim away from us.
Yeah. And how do you practice those rescues? Do you have sort of simulations where you get people pretending you're in trouble, or
throw the president overboard days? No, we do it different ways. If we're just practicing the technical, we just have a little buoy that we throw in the water, a weighted buoy that we will use. If we're going a little bit more serious about how do we get somebody onto a boat, we actually have a full-size mannequin and a child-size mannequin. And then, we actually do, all joking aside, throw people in the water and respond.
Right. And as swimmers in the harbour, we're all encouraged to have tow floats. I imagine that must make a difference as well in terms of visibility.
And if you actually, we were searching, we did a training exercise it was a wee while ago now, but somebody had a, how the divers have a noodle that you can fill up with air? When they actually put that upright, we saw the person straight away. When they put it down, we could barely see them. So if you're in distress, either put your arm up or put your buoy up in the air vertically. We'll be able to see you and identify that you're in distress twice as fast. And that goes for surf and for Coastguard.
That is great advice. I wouldn't have known that. So that's good to hear. I'll tell people.
Just think about those. Surf is big on, if you're in trouble, you put your hand up, right?
Yeah.
Put your hand up so that people can take, oh shit, that person's in trouble. And then there's the R's, which is relax, ride, don't fight. So we don't want you to swim against any current or against any rip. Relax, raise your hand, and wait for rescue.
Excellent.
So you just make sure that, those sort of basic just ideas. Because if you start to swim against the tide or swim against the current or against a rip, you're just going to potentially get yourself into a way worse shape.
I imagine you advise people to check the weather conditions as well. I imagine that was one.
Yeah, without a doubt.
They can change so quickly.
Especially in our harbour. Yeah, you can see it happen. And our harbour chops up very much with the wind we get. So, and when you're in that wind, it's very hard to see you because you could be in dips when we're in dips, and you just can't see the object you're searching for. And
also the temperature can change so fast, can't it? Especially in winter. Yeah,
without a doubt. You're just 100% onto it.
Well, this has been fantastic, James. Is there anything else you want to mention that I haven't asked you about yet?
No, but I'll just say thank you again for all the big swimmers out there. Every little bit counts for us. Seriously, it makes a difference. So just go for it, swim hard, see if you can do an extra 10Ks for Coastguard.
Perfect. All right. Well, we'll keep sharing our profile links and asking people to chip in because it's such an important cause. Thanks so much, James, for your time.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Swim Chats. Please remember to follow or subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you enjoyed it, you can leave a 5-star rating and review, which helps other people find it too. Enjoy the water, and we'll see you next time.